All right, guys, special episode of the John Hallett podcast. We're here today talking about suck less defined.
Suck less defined. The very thing I told you to get rid of. You stuck with it. So
I stuck with it.
You stuck with it.
I stuck with it. It's, part of, the number one thing on there is do hard things. Do things that are going to make you better, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a workout.
Yeah.
It just goes so many directions on do hard things. It's going to make you better. I mean, we talk about the book, The Comfort Crisis, around here. That people just, they don't want to do anything. Yeah. But it's like, oh, that's going to be hard.
Right.
And it might make you better.
Well,
it will make you better.
It will make you better, right? You have to do difficult things. I mean, when we was talking about, getting better every day. Like, you have to at least improve in some way every day. And you do that by, like you say, sucking less, right? You've got to go do those hard things. You've got to get up. You've got to do with you, it's the cold plunge into the exercise, into the workouts. For some of us others, it's going in just doing the morning workout, 5 or at 9:30 every single day, right? I'd rather
it could be a hard thing for people.
That.
It's easy to make excuses.
Yeah.
Doing a hard thing might just stick to that calendar because it's new to your life. Yeah. You haven't exercised.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know the benefits. Quit. You don't know how good you can feel because you've been in your body and slowly, and the human body's so adaptive, you don't realize that you just feel terrible.
Yeah, and the first week or two was so hard. I felt like I couldn't fight it, right? I was like, this is too much. But after you stick with it and you start sucking less through it, I look forward to it. My body wanted it, right?
Yeah,
I wanted to
easier.
Feel it. Yeah. I'm sleeping better because of it,
Yeah.
And I feel great.
Yeah, do hard things. There's so much in there, whether it's, giving up a food that's not great for you,
that's
or
hard.
that addictive soda, sugar.
I know.
It's
doing something, though. It's doing something really difficult.
Yeah.
You suck less that day or that life, and it applies, there's no time limit on when it happens or when it ends, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it could just be challenge yourself, monthly, weekly, yearly to different challenges. Yeah. And hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to do a 5K. Whatever it may be for the individual, it's all relative. We had that staff meeting, our Peaceful Warrior side and our instructors, and going, it's all relative. Just what I'm going to consider hard might be extremely hard for you, or like, I'm going to do this. It's all relative to you, and it's just getting out of that comfort zone. Do something hard. Number 2 on suck less defined was embrace failure. It's a key to learning.
You bet.
So many people are afraid, they want to quit, that they just don't want to fail. They want to look good, and train ugly. Some people talk about here.
Everyone thinks that when you train, you have to look good, and it has to be great training. It's got to be perfect every single time.
Or they're going to get it down.
Yeah. And the answer is, if you're training, it's going to be ugly because it's training. Right? It's you learning in the process.
Yeah. And it's tough, whether it's fitness or self-defense and martial arts. But we can embrace failure at your job, whatever it may be, risking going to the next level. Like, hey, this might not pan out. I might, be going out and, like, I'm going to start my own business.
That's huge with everybody, right?
Yeah. I'm going to do that. Like, you might fail, and a lot of people, like, just even fail to try to do their new idea because they don't want to fail. They want to give up that lifestyle, and that is super difficult, right? Sure. That paycheck, it's steady, it's even, but can I get into it? You see that, like, sometimes on Shark Tank, that they're like, you're not fully invested in this. Yeah. It's not going to succeed. I don't want to invest in it because you're not fully invested.
Right.
You can't get this off the ground doing it part-time after work. It's going to require full-time effort.
Right.
Those things, you might fail.
We fail so we can learn, right? There's always that old saying is, why do you fall? So you can get back up. And that's really what failure is here. Just keep getting back up over and over and over. And I don't know how many times I've fallen here, metaphorically, right? Yeah. Just getting beaten up and learning things as I go. But every time I fail, I learned something, right? Like that.
Yeah, that technique didn't work. It's like we were just said a second ago that, you know, people like do it and they look at the coach like, yeah, like it's not black belt.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're getting it.
Right.
It's good.
Right.
But, you know, it's not going to be fantastic, you know, and then people are like, oh, like, you're going to fail at it a bunch of times. You're going to go into a scenario and you're going to mess it up.
Yeah.
It's part of it, and it's just going to help instill the technique. You did it wrong. You got to see it differently. Right. You know, when you're always succeeding at your technique, it's even just throwing a straight punch. Like, oh, yeah, just land that straight punch on somebody that doesn't want to be hit. It's a lot different than hitting a heavy bag or a mitt.
Right.
Like, you're going to fail throwing those punches and dialing in your range and everything else. That there's just so much to embrace failure. When we were going through all of these, you know, we debated on having a fourth. I think 4 things is too many. And then you're like, where do you stop? Is it 5 things that defined suck less, but trying to keep it simple? And of course, we had a bunch of other things on here, but I really think, you know, embracing failure to some degree just encompasses a lot of what you can do as a human being.
Right.
That I might fail at this podcast.
That's okay, and that's okay, right?
Yeah, you're like, okay.
But we talk about confidence, right? And you only get confidence through failing and succeeding.
Yeah.
That's the only way you get there, right? If you fail, you learn for the next time. And then when you succeed, you have the confidence to do something like that again. That's why failure is so important. Failure builds confidence. I know it feels like it's just the opposite, but it's not. If you really do persevere through things, you'll get more confidence in what you do. It sounds counterculture, but I think they're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, I mean, it's slowly, it's where people are just afraid to fail. They don't want to lift a heavier weight, or I'm like, you might blow up. You might just, you know, cramp up. Feel like you're going to throw up. Who cares?
Right.
Who cares? Is it the end of the world? You got a good workout. You can always rest for 2 minutes.
Right.
People get too caught up in, you know, the clock or where other people are. I'm like, it's about you today. So what? You blew up. You know, embrace failure.
I don't want to fail in front of the others. It's like people are so busy just trying to complete what they got to do. Nobody's watching you fail.
Yeah.
You know, if that's
they do,
like,
who cares?
Right. It's not about them. It's about what you accomplish. And sucking less in that moment.
Yeah.
Suck less in that moment. Embrace it. Go.
Yeah. You're going to be better for trying than not. I mean, you look at just that, like, you know, football. Like, you might get benched. Like, they might teach you to, like, step it up.
Yeah.
Versus there's just so much in our culture of, like, you know, keep playing these kids, or they're seniors, or, you know, they're the, quote, all-star. Well, they might need to get benched.
Yeah. It teaches a little bit of that humility that comes in there with failure, right?
Yeah.
Failure teaches humility. It's like, whoa, I couldn't do that the way I thought I could, right? So it's another teaching tool.
Yeah. I think you gotta, you know, be ready for that when you start.
Yeah.
That, you know, I've had A+ white belts that they were your A student coming in, just fit the mold that, you know, they you could see them going to the path of black belt, but then they just, I'm not doing well. I'm slowing people down. And they can't embrace that failure. They want to quit.
Mm-hmm.
They can't really embrace feeling like, oh, I stink at this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you pretty much, I mean,
just walked in.
Well, you're great. You're a natural at this.
Yeah.
If you're a natural at everything, like, you know, where does that lead?
Yeah, I don't think they exist. There's people that are naturals. We run into them here all the time. But, you know, they feel like if they can't do it, they shouldn't. And it's like, they'll never grow.
Yeah, I mean, go and find something that you're terrible at, or,
right.
You know, shoot lefty. I don't know.
Yeah, and Coach John, like when you're out there being Coach John, you'd rather see somebody fail at something 1,000 times because at least they're doing it.
Yeah, at least
the person that doesn't walk in is who you're like, whatever. 1,000 times is great. At least you're trying.
Yeah, you know? You failed.
If there's 1,000 times, he's at least once or twice in there, he's going to give you improvement. So remember that.
So, the last one, don't be a wuss. Shut down. That well, You know, it was another thing, but the HR department shot it down.
Wise.
Yep, she is. And then I thought, you know,
Don't be a wuss.
what am I going to have on a t-shirt? You know,
Yeah.
so we changed it. I think it all means the same thing.
So what does it feel to you not to be a wuss?
Not to be a wuss.
Yeah, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to not be a wuss?
I mean, it goes to failing again and like not doing hard things that so many people just, they don't challenge themselves.
They give up.
Yeah.
How many people have you seen come into the gym and just give up after one class, one session, and they they beat themselves up, right? It wasn't you. They beat themselves up. So
Yeah, it's hard to determine that, but you know, I mean, you got to talk about 20 years. You got to talk about thousands of people coming through your door and going, oh, whatever they felt. I mean, you can't be in their head.
yeah,
You know, I've had somebody on the fitness side that told me, "F you, I'm never coming back," and then come back, whatever it was, 6 months, or you know, they ended up coming back, but they were basically like, "This sucks."
yeah.
You know, probably like, "Oh, that really humbled me."
Yeah.
But they don't want to come back. You know, they don't want that ego check,
Interesting.
I think.
Yeah, I think having too much ego can also make you a wuss, right? Because the ego will convince you to not do something. It does that. It does it all the time, right? And that's like being a wuss. Like you're letting the ego win. That means you can't grow. You can't do more hard things. You will not be able to embrace any failure. And that's pretty much the definition of it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's what it
absolutely.
is. So. Anyway, that's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple one that when you look at it and go, hey, you're being a wuss, Josh.
Yeah, and that's what I
Like-
do. I'm trying not to. I'm getting better.
Yeah.
Not letting me in.
We're recording, but come on in. I don't know what's going on with it. We need a sign.
We need sentences on the air. We should get one of
The
those.
station price is not there.
But yeah, not being a wuss, man. That's the way I see it. What are your thoughts on those things?
You know, I think it can be easy to go, oh, geez, you know, I'm not going to spar today. I don't feel perfect.
Yeah.
You're like, don't be a wuss. It's, you know, getting in the cold plunge.
Yeah.
It's not getting any warmer. Don't be a wuss. Just get in. You know, I think a lot of people, you know, wuss out of things,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. I know for myself, it can be hard, like difficult conversations, being an introvert.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, no, say it.
Yeah.
Get it out there. You know, that's a harder thing for me.
Yeah.
But
me
it
too.
definitely comes up, you know, in, you know, martial arts and fitness that you're like, oh, I don't know, like, just get that workout. And, you know, as we say when we're training instructors, you've also got to be smart. You know, so I'm like, am I wussing out or do I really need, you know, something?
Yeah.
You know, my biceps been bothering me, and you're like, well, you can tough through it. You're like, you know, don't be a wuss. You're like, is it really just better to rest it and not do pull-ups? Because you can tough through it by all means, but
Are you hurting yourself later?
it's
And
not
then-
worth it.
Right, but there's a difference between wussing out because you don't want to do it, and wussing out because you've trained to the point where things hurt. Bless you. You know what I mean? I find myself having to stop a little bit and not go too hard because things just hurt sometimes, right? And I'm trying not to injure myself later.
Yeah, you don't want to have long-term, right?
Right.
You know, suck less, just keep pushing through. That's not smart. You're not on
Don't
the
push
street trying to defend yourself. You're not going, I got to hike out of here to get help.
Yeah,
And get to cell coverage to get medical attention for a family member or friend. Like, by all means, like, I don't want to push through that.
and the thing, what happens to me is now I have to do a hard thing that I want to train, but I can't be part of it, so I've just got to watch. And that's hard for me because I want to jump in on it, right? That's a hard thing for me to do. But still being able there to kind of look at an injury and say, I shouldn't be doing this, but I can still watch to get the mental peace. And I find that the hardest because I want to jump in there, you know. Everything
Yeah,
says
it's something-
I want to get in, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that happens, like people don't want to come when they're hurt, and you're like, sit on the sidelines and you're going to get things out of it, and it's also going to like stick with your routine, be part of the culture around here versus going away. People like, stay on track.
Yeah.
Stay on track, come in and stretch, or, do bicep curls by all means, or triceps, do something that is just keeping you on the path.
Yeah, you told me to shadow fight it yesterday. I couldn't get in.
Yeah, just do it.
Just shadow it, Josh. Just shadow it. Work with
just do it kind of dry in the air. It's kind of like martial arts kata or patterns. Just like work through that movement dry. You don't you go slow. You don't have a partner like moving you in a way that's going to hurt you. You can work slow, and you can work through that mental aspect of going through that move. It's not live training, but it's something. It's training. It's doing something.
It still keeps me fresh in it, right? And that's the thing. Because if you walk away for just a week, you'd be surprised how much you lose in 7 days.
Oh yeah.
On the mental side, the focus side,
the reaction time, but it's all don't be a wuss. Somebody. You could have sucked less. Could have just been. Don't be a wuss.
Could have sucked less.
Trying to define some of the things that you're doing to suck less. Hard things. It's avoided. Embracing failure. People are afraid to fail.
Do it.
And people. I lost. Good. Like sometimes people are like, I'm gonna lose. Get in there and train with the younger guys.
Yeah.
Lose, tap out, get in a position where you're in a bat, they take your gun, whatever training you're doing, you have to tap out, you're getting punched. And it all has to be, we don't need to hurt ourselves, but, risk like that, it's humbling. You're like, my reaction time, my vision, all that, before I couldn't read my phone and, texting and, misspelling things because I'm fat fingering something, but I can't even see an A and an E on the phone. I could tell my vision was not what it used to be because of just reaction and seeing things in the fight. You were missing things that, you would have caught.
Yeah.
So that's what, suck less is, and suck less define. So thanks for tuning in for this special episode of the John Hallett Podcast. Share this with a friend to help somebody suck less.